pumped, so pumped.
When we're flying cross country, hang gliders make use of rising air currents. So we circle up in those rising air currents and we can get as high as the clouds in those air currents. We call that thermaling, and that rising air we call thermals. So it's an absolutely essential skill for pilots who want to fly cross country, and when you manage to master thermaling, or at least become competent in thermaling, that is one of the most rewarding things about hang gliding, thermaling. Absolutely fantastic. So we're going to talk today about how to thermal and give some tips on thermaling. I'll start off by asking the son of the European #2, Connor Crossingham. Connor, can you tell us how do we thermal?
You go round in circles and go up.
There you go. It's as easy as that. My first one now. The first thermal is always the most stressful because that's when you're lowest to the ground. So I won't do any talking about how I'm doing it until I get a bit higher and get a bit more relaxed. So the first question you ask yourself when thermaling is, at what point do I turn and thermal? And how do I know when it's good enough? A good solution, simple solution for beginners, is if you start counting when you start going up, and if you get to 3 or 4, then you can probably turn in it, and it's a good chance to then turn and try. For people who don't understand how you understand when you're going up, this instrument here is called a Vario, and you can hear the noise that it makes. Currently it's making a very depressing noise, which means I'm going down. When I'm going up, it will beep at me, and the faster I'm going up, the more shrill the beeping. So ideally I want that beeping to be really, really shrill, and that signifies that I'm going up really, really fast. So the first thing is, you're flying along and your Vario starts beeping at you like that. Count to 3 or 4 and start turning. The next question for beginners is, how steeply do I turn? The simple answer to that is, most people usually turn too shallow in a thermal, and they end up in the outskirts of the thermal, totally missing the core and going up a lot more slowly than people who are in the core of the thermal. You'll see that right now I'm a lot shallower than that with my bank angle. 2 reasons for that. One of them being that this particular thermal is a fairly weak one and quite wide, and the other reason is a safety reason, because all the other gliders in it are doing the same circle, and I'm following the other gliders around the circle. If I get a really strong core where I feel I can cut inside the other gliders, then I may well do that, but that's more of an advanced technique, and that's for another talk. I'm not really going to talk about flying with other gliders today, other than where I have to. So count to 4, turn, and hopefully you will hear your Vario beeping all the way up. And there we go, we are beeping all the way around the circle, or most of the way around the circle, which signifies we're going up. Another technique for when to turn in a thermal, and it is useful to find the strongest part of a thermal, is when you actually get the thermal, when you start going up, fly all the way through it. Keep going all the way to the other side, and then judge where the strongest part of the thermal is by the most shrill beeps. And when you got through to the other side and the beeps start slackening off, turn back 180 degrees back to where you came from, and you now know the extent of the thermal, you know how strong to expect it to get, and try and judge it so your turn is into the strongest part of the lift using those beeps. So that's a good way of finding a strong part of the thermal. When you're actually circling, going round, ideally you want to be in a perfect circle, just so you can stay in the centre of that core. You want a light grip like I've got here, the lighter your grip, the better you can feel for what the air is doing on around you. You do not need a Vulcan death grip. You don't need that Vulcan death grip. Unless, of course, you're in a Vulcan death grip type thermal that is trying to kill you, and then you may need a Vulcan death grip. So that's one of those thermals that's trying to rip the bar out of your hands. But if you're just beginning to learn about thermaling, you shouldn't be flying in those conditions anyway, and in those places. And your more experienced pilots where you'll fly will tell you about that. Certainly in the UK, you don't very often come across a Vulcan death grip kind of thermal. Here in France, you can come across them sometimes, but most of the time not. I mean, this thermal now is fairly gentle, and I've got fairly loose grip. The next thing to think about is the speed that you fly when you're thermaling. So you see here I've got a quarter VG on. That's a little bit faster than I might fly. The reason being two reasons. One, because I'm flying in company, so I've got a bit more manoeuvrability, and two, because I'm flying in a thermal where I want to keep adjusting my position, and I got a bit more manoeuvrability. Sometimes I might fly with 0 VG on, or if the thermal becomes wide and smooth, I may actually put a lot more VG on to maximise that performance when I don't need a tight turning circle. So that's that for so far. I'm now, as you can see, hitting cloud base in this thermal. You have to be very careful when you get to cloud base when you're amongst other gliders, obviously because it can get busy and you need to not be running into other gliders. There's plenty of visibility here, and I can see what the other gliders are doing, and I'm staying well out of their way. So I'll turn you off for now, and I'll talk a little bit more about thermaling in a little while. I hope you're enjoying it so far, because I certainly am. I'm at 7,000 feet. 7,000 feet without really trying, in just beautiful conditions. It's fantastic. Turning you off, gonna go on a glide now. So Gerolf has set us a course which takes us away from the Chabre ridge to the west, and then south of it out into the middle of the valley. It's a little bit more testing, I think, than just flying straight up the ridge. But Gerolf says that they're going that way, you tend to get thermals kicking off the lumps in front. So I'm just testing it now. I'm at 7,600 feet, and I'm sort of doing a test, trying to do a direct route leaving the Chabre. I'm 5k out from the turn point, and what I'm going to try and do is to fly directly to the turn point, tag the turn point, and then either dash back to the ridge or try and find a thermal to get me back up there. So it's a bit of an experiment really, to see whether that will work or not. Hopefully it won't end up with me landing on the floor. We'll soon see. The key thing on a cross-country task when you have a goal in mind is to fly directly to it, and as efficiently as possible, flying in a straight line. So not allowing yourself to get tipped one way or the other, but also to pick the line that you think is going to be the most lifty. That way it's much more efficient. I can see a hang glider ahead, and below me it looks like he's or she is heading out to the same place that I am, so I'm assuming that it's somebody on my course. They're quite a way below me, so that's a really good thing for me, because I can use them as a guide, and if they start circling, then I've got a guaranteed thermal there. If they go down, then I know to be really on my watch out. But I intend to use that person as a guide to the lift for me, so they're like my dummy. And sure enough, they're circling. I'm not sure if that's because they've tagged the turn point think it is because they're coming straight back. I made it back. I got out to that turn point and made it back as planned. There was no lift on the way at all, so I got my lift back at the ridge. I'm now circling the way again in a thermal, just getting back up ready to make my next crossing. Currently 8,000 feet, still going up. I was in a bit of a thermal and I saw these birds just ahead of me going around in a circle, so I went to join the birds and whoa, the birds knew what they were doing. And I am now zooming up, nearly at cloud base. So I'll be making the crossing in just a minute. So my next tip for thermaling is when you're actually circling in the thermal, in one particular direction you will probably notice the beeps are stronger than in other directions. And that's because you're flying into a stronger bit of thermal. So try and centre yourself, head a little bit further towards the stronger beeps each turn. That way you're centering yourself in the thermal in the stronger beeps. So I'm at cloud base now. There's no other gliders around me. I'm thermaling completely on my own, other than the one glider that is just on the ridge behind me. So I'm now going to go on a glide, 8,300 feet, gliding towards the next turn point, which is on the hill called Beaumont. I flew over Beaumont on the first day. It's absolutely renowned for giving tremendous amounts of lift. Beaumont is the one to the north of the Chabre with the aerials on the top. I've pulled full VG on, so you can see I've got the rope fully extended and the bar has come right back. Wheel swing glider is really good for that, because on the wheel swing the bar has a definite come back to you, which makes you go faster, and you realise that you've got the VG on, so it's a good indicator. And the wheel swing also handles still fairly well whilst you've got the VG on. Although, as I said before, pulling the full VG on does make it more difficult to roll on any glider. But I particularly like it on my wheel swing. As expected, I've got to Beaumont and I found a thermal right over the top of the aerials. It started lifting when I got initially to Beaumont, the ridge, but I thought I would fly along the ridge all the way along to see where the best thermal part was, and then I could fly back to that. And it just happened to be the aerials, which is a normal trigger spot. So that's another tip. If you've got a bit of a ridge that you're flying along and you think, where am I going to find the best bit, just fly along and backwards a few times or once. You might have several trigger points, find out which is the best one and then use that one. Obviously don't fly up and down for miles doing that, but certainly I've done 500 yards. Now this thermal that I'm in now is quite strong, but it's not beeping all the way around the circle, as you can hear. So every turn I'm trying to centre it a little bit more in the middle of the beeps. My aim is to get it to be beeping all the way around, but it is quite small and punchy. I don't actually mind if I'm not going up all the way around the thermal, so long as my average is I don't mind if I'm not going up all the way around the thermal, so long as the average of it is that I am actually going up. Now you may well have an averager on your Vario which tells you what the average over a minute or 30 seconds is. You can set that, or indeed, if you're not sure what you can actually do is look at the height on your Vario, and then the next turn look again and see, have you gone up or have you gone down, or have you maintained. So that's another tip. Find out if you're going up or down or not when you can't really tell. Now there's someone just to the south of me in a sailplane. Seems to be going up a little bit better than I am. I'm gonna just move my track to the south a little bit, see if I can find a better core over that way, and maybe go up further, maybe go up all the way around the circle, which I'm not currently doing. There's a couple more hang gliders coming underneath me and they're doing the same. They've gone into the same one. So here we go. Everyone in this thermal is turning right, so I'm going to turn right with them. That's the safety point. Turn the same way as the other people in your thermal, so you don't end up going head on towards each other. There we go, that is a lot better. We're going up more all the way around. That was a bit of a Vulcan death grip moment. I entered a really strong part of the thermal there. I was flying quite slow, it pitched my nose up, so I had to pull in the nose to stop it from pitching right up. There we go, going round nicely. I've used a combination of my Vario and the other gliders to centre nicely in this thermal, and now I'm going up at around about 600-700 feet a minute. We actually say I'm in a 1 up or a 2 up or a 10 up or whatever. And what that means is a 1 up means 100 feet a minute. A 10 up is 1,000 feet a minute. So 5 up is a relatively good thermal. In the paragliding world and in Europe they usually talk in meters. However, most UK hang gliders use feet. And actually, when you're using feet, it sounds more impressive to say I'm in a 10 up than I'm going however many meters per second. So it sounds better. And it's easier for me to work out because that's what I'm used to. So I'm going up all the way around the circle, just nicely centred, nice and relaxed in the thermal now. And as I said before, fly nice and relaxed where you can. And as you're going around the circle, you'll notice little bumps, one way or the other, to the left or the right. When you actually get it nicely centred, at that point you can just use little body movements to counteract those bumps. Very quickly, you feel a bump to the left, move your body quickly to the right, to try and keep it perfectly in that circle. So, it's more a case of small adjustments quickly, and then you don't have to make big adjustments, just little adjustments quickly, just to keep it in that nice perfect circle. Once you're happy, you're going round all the way up and you're in what you think is the core of the thermal. So I hope you enjoyed that. I think that's the end of my thermaling. Actually no, one more thing to talk about with the thermaling. Another technique for centering the thermaling is wait until the beeps go past the strongest part and then they start to slacken off, and at that point turn tightly. And if you do that every time, it will centre you in the middle of the thermal. So that's the technique. You go through the strong part, you hear it beat really strong, and as it starts to slacken off, turn tightly at that point. when it starts to get stronger again, widen your circle. When it starts to slacken off again, then you tighten up. And that will get you right into the core of the thermal. But once you're happy that you are in a position where you're going up as strong as you think it's going to be, all the way around, then just try and keep it centered in the way that I've just described. So I hope that you've enjoyed my thermaling lesson today. I dare say some people you listening to this will be a lot better at thermaling than I am anyway. So if you've got any tips for me, please leave your thermaling tips for me in the comments below, and I will talk about those on video as well. So, you know, I'm not the best thermaler in the world, and I'm quite happy to take any tips off anybody that can improve upon my thermaling, and I'll share those with other people through the YouTube videos. But if you have liked it, please click the like button, press the subscribe button, and leave some positive comments. See you again tomorrow. Well, I'll put some more on here later, but that's the end of the thermaling talk for today, I think. I'm now at 9,000 feet. 9,000 feet! Woohoo! Still going up. Sort of on the edge of the cloud. Did I tell you? I'm at 9,000 feet. Not 1, not 2, not 3. 9,000 feet! 9,000 feet! 9! Wow, 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 wow. I am really enjoying this. Of course, I'm looking out for overdevelopment as well. Keep an eye on the clouds, because it did go pop yesterday, and we think it's going to go pop again today. It's looking okay at the moment, but I am aware of the possibility of it happening again, so just being alive to that really. But did I tell you that I'm at 9,000 feet? Did I mention that? 9,000 feet! Woo! Right, turning you off. I'm going to glide soon. So I'm on the final gliding to go. It feels very low. And it's felt very low for a long time. But I am on the numbers, as they say. I set off from Beaumont at 9,000 feet. Just over 9,000 feet. And I've pretty much not turned all the way from Beaumont all the way across Saint-Genis, that's the volcano, and then to the final turn point, and then to the goal. So I'm just coming over the goal now, the landing field. I'm just approaching it, and I've got there with plenty of height. It felt like I wasn't going to make it, but you get over this final lump and you're there. Nice. I'm there at goal. Sasha, Darren is at goal. So there we go, we've made goal. Going to land at goal, and Sasha's going to take photographs as we land. Hopefully do a better landing than yesterday. She said my landing approach was rubbish. I'm not guaranteeing any better today, but I will do my best. I've got here with plenty of height, maybe 300 feet, which feels quite comfortable. I'll keep the video on, film the whole landing. So as you see, I'm going wide. I'm giving myself the full length of the landing field here. Still quite high actually. I'm just doing an S. This is what Sasha will say is shit, but hey ho. So, here we go. Plenty of speed on. Rounding out, get ready for the flare. Not yet. Now. I quickly get off the landing field because Ricardo's coming. Don't want to be in the way of Ricardo. So that was a nice flight, although I messed up by missing one of the turn points. Between the Chabre and Beaumont, there was a turn point in there and I forgot all about it. Just flew straight past it at about 7,000 feet. So then I got high on Beaumont and had to go back for it. So that added another 10 kilometres onto my task. Got the turn point. So yes, I added an extra 10 kilometres onto my flight by having to go back to the turn point that I'd missed, then back to Beaumont. When I got back to Beaumont again, I got back up to about 9,200 feet, and then I did the final glide from there all the way to the final turn point and in here. Started off needing a glide angle of 11.7. I just maximised the glide as much as I could, and all the way in it gradually got better and better and better, and I managed to get in without doing a turn, so pretty pleased about that. Marco, you've got to go. Do you attribute that to the fact that you are flying a super duper Will's Wing hang glider?
Maybe. No, I think I just was lucky. I had a good line today.
How was your flight?
Amazing actually. No really low safe. It was nice. It was nice.
Excellent. And did you learn anything from it?
Yes, I learned a lot about my instrument.
Okay.
I need to take care more on the kilometers, on the radius.
Oh, we'll just get Gerolf landing on the video. So that's Gerolf Heinrichs, who is running our course. I think it's a case of do as I say, not as I do.
That's a good one.
So you're telling me you needed to learn about your instruments, Marco?
Yes, a lot more. Because normally I go cross country and no competition route. And now I had some troubles with the radius. I was always a little bit scared that I'm too far away, and then already a few kilometers before it made beep beep beep. So I made it. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and final question, did you use the final glide angle to calculate when to glide?
Yes.
And what numbers did you leave on?
What do you mean?
What was the glide angle when you set off from
that
your...
was bad actually. It was 5.8, something like this. I had a bad glide angle, the last one.
What I mean is, when you started your final glide, what did your instrument say you needed to achieve?
It was a difference of 80 meters actually, of 0.8, sorry. So I was a little bit scared if I make it or not. But then I found a good line in the end again, and that saved me. But I always had another landing spot on the left inside, so I could fly without being afraid.
Excellent, well done. Really important about having that good landing spot. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So here comes Greg on his landing approach, having completed the task with the course with Gerolf. I'll Get ready to get out of his way if we need to. Quick interview, quick pilot interview.
Yeah!
Greg Ems, you made goal.
I made goal.
How do you feel?
Fantastic!
Woohoo!
Woo! Yeah! Yeah, baby!
Pilot interview. Did you learn anything on that flight?
Oh, superb. 9,500 feet over Beaumont and a glide to goal from there.
Fantastic. Well done, mate. Well done. I'll let you get to the side, but well done.
Thank you.
Here comes Tim Swaite, owner of Avian Hang Gliders. Made it to goal on his landing. Now Tim has been suffering with not flaring it right. He's told me that he's struggled with that, and he's just there demonstrated the perfect flare and an excellent landing. He's going to be over the moon. Timbo Swaite, you made it to goal.
Oh, that was wicked.
And your landing?
Perfect, I think. Well, let's see it on film, but yeah.
Absolutely spot on, mate. Well done. How do you feel?
Pumped. So pumped, yeah.
Pumped.
Oh god, yeah. I know, I nearly went down on the first turn point. I was squirrel chasing on the ridge. Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Well done, mate. Well done. Let's get you to the side and D-rig. Congratulations.
Thank you.